All right. Hey, what's going on, you guys? Sorry about using a live hangout as a way to put this video together versus using like an EM5 Mark II or something to record the video. But I just got the go ahead to start talking about the OMD EM1 Mark II. I've been actually shooting with it for a couple of weeks now. I've got a few projects that I've been working on that involve the camera. And so here it is. You can tell, obviously, by the dial layout here and the fact that we now have custom 1, 2, and 3 buttons on there. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about this camera so far. First impressions and experiences with the camera. Now, you know, I probably, for those who don't know who I am or what I do or why I would have this camera, I'll do the disclaimer thing right now and just say that I do shoot for Olympus cameras. I'm part of the Visionary program. I've been since 2012. Great experience so far, obviously, by getting the opportunity to have, you know, stuff like this in advance of launch is a blessing. So while everybody would probably look at me and say, well, your opinion is going to be skewed or biased. Well, sure, you know, I'm definitely passionate about the brand, but I am honest in what I have to say. And those who know me personally outside of this channel who have met me in real life know that that's the case. So everything I'm going to talk about today, the excitement that I have for the camera is legit. You can watch my past videos and see that that's how I am with other reviews as well. I'm pretty hyped up and enthusiastic and excited about the gear. Let me start off by saying that we're here. And when I say we're here, what do I mean by that? I mean that currently this camera now puts mirrorless cameras at a level playing field with DSLRs on all genres of shooting, on all platforms for shooting. I'm basically focusing this on, you know, the sports and action shooters out there. I have had the opportunity to shoot a couple of different events with this, different types of sporting events. And I know that this will run side by side with any of the DSLR shooters that were out on the field shooting when I was shooting. You don't run into things like the excessive blackout when you're in sequential shooting, where the blackout between frames is so long that you lose track of your subject. Or things like some of the other mirrorless cameras, what they do is they actually, in between frames, what you're getting is like the short pause where you're seeing the initial frame that you just shot before it goes back into live view again. You don't experience that with this camera. So you don't ever feel like you're disconnected from shooting. This reminds me of shooting when I had my my DSLRs, my Olympus E3 and E5, shooting in sequential mode. It felt just like shooting with a DSLR. There was no disconnect. There was no delay between what I was seeing in here and what was happening out in the field. And speaking to that delay and all that, you know, the response time on this is like half what it is on the original EM1. The refresh rate is twice the speed. So we're now at a 5 millisecond response time. And all these specs, they're available on I'm sure on the Olympus website at this point for the camera. But what that means though, and, you know, to see the specs is one thing. So it's just a bunch of numbers, you know, they're just items on this list. But to put it into perspective for you, 5 millisecond response time, you know, you're now getting beyond the response time of what you're going to register with your vision. So you're no longer the feel like you're looking through an EVF is gone. This is the first mirrorless camera I've shot with where the sensation of looking through an EVF is gone. It is gone. As soon as you start getting out and hitting events where you can see them in person, you know, and I have no idea when that's going to be. And I know there's going to be a ton of people that are asking when can I see it? When can I buy it? When can I get my hands on it? And I don't know at this point. That information is not available to me. But when the opportunity does come out, for those of you who are DSLR shooters and still have that hesitation to get away from looking through an optical viewfinder, the first thing I want you to do is get your hands on one of these and look through the EVF. And and tell me that it feels different than looking through a DSLR, because it doesn't. It's sick. It is insane. Revolutionary. Literally swear on everything. It is a game changer in the EVF alone. And that's just one feature on this camera that I'm talking about right now, EVF. Autofocus. I can tell you that these are all things, again, I'm kind of talking towards the market that we hadn't been able to penetrate yet. And that was like fast-paced, high-action sports shooting. Autofocus. The continuous autofocus tracking on this is freaking crazy. And so it was easy in the past to have a subject that was, running, parallel with you, as you're panning. That's an easy shot. Keeping up with your subject with the autofocus, like on the E-M1, really not too hard, hit or miss here and there. Once you start getting a subject that's coming towards you, either obliquely or straight on at you, that's where the E-M1 started to lose it, and I'll admit, not the greatest camera for that kind of shooting. Olympus knew it. They understood that there were definitely improvements that needed to be made as far as that is concerned. 110% addressed in this camera. I've shot a couple of different subjects. Some of them that were moving like crazy fast, like many miles per hour. Some of them were just, I've done test shots with my kids just running in the park. I've done test shots with my kids on a swing set swinging towards me, which is a weird thing in my mind, for a camera to try to predict when it comes to focusing and being able to keep something in focus. And the camera is just sick, spot on. And I know, so I'm probably going to get people that are like, well, let's see the sample shots. Let's see them. I can't do that yet. We're not at a point where I'm allowed to share images yet. Just trust me. I don't think I've let anybody down yet on any of these other videos that I've done in the past. I don't lie. I just tell you what my experiences are. And I'm telling you, this will blow your socks off. It really will. It's awesome. And to talk a little bit about the autofocus and why it's so accurate and why it is so good at maintaining focus as you're moving around, tracking your subject. One of the perks of the Olympus system is you've got the 5-axis image stabilization in the camera, right? Everybody knows that. It's just one of those killer features that we have in these cameras. What people probably don't realize is some of the tech that works with that. And it's tech that you have, here. I've got the same tech, sort of. One of the tech features right here in my phone. There's a gyroscopic sensor in there. There are gyroscopic sensors in here, and the gyroscopic sensors tell the sensor, the camera sensor, which direction to move based on the movements that it's experiencing from you. So what happens is, genius engineers, I love it. In my day job, I don't like engineers. They drive me nuts. But with Olympus, I love their engineers. They have figured that by using the gyroscopic sensors to detect the motion that you're doing, they can take that and help to predict where the autofocus needs to be going. So while that doesn't work in this direction, it will working like obliquely to the camera. Think about it. So if I'm moving like this, the camera knows I'm panning this way. So my subject must be moving this way. So to start predicting and making sure that the autofocus points that are in this direction are helping to keep your subject in focus. And that's one of the things that's making the autofocus in this work so phenomenally. And I'm telling you, I can speak from firsthand experience. It is cool. It's really cool. I feel like it can make anybody a sports photographer. And I know it can't, I'm not well versed in a lot of pro sports. I'm not able to predict, plays and things like that. But I'll tell you what, with the ability to maintain a lock on your subject, if your kid's out there playing soccer, you're going to have no problem following him or her down the field and just nailing shot after shot after shot after shot. And we're talking, like 15 frames a second, while you're doing this, astounding stuff. So that was just a couple of the things that I really wanted to hit on that are key points for sports shooters. Another thing that's important for sports shooters, especially for those of you who shoot like high school sports, which there's a lot of people that do that. I think probably a big chunk of people that end up with these cameras are parents, and you've got a son or daughter or nephew or niece or, you know, some relative who might play high school sports or maybe, you know, even younger grade school sports. If you've ever shot high school football, you know that you're cranking the ISO. You're really cranking the ISO up in order to achieve a faster shutter speed. I've got experience with that shooting my nephew last year, playing football, high school football. A lot of my shooting was at ISO 10,000. And with a little bit of post, you know, with the E-M1, I was doing fine with ISO 10,000. You know, I mean, I had to work it in post to get, you know, good photos. I've in the time I've had with this, I was doing, you know, again, some of the shooting that I've been doing with this to test a few things out. I had the opportunity to be shooting in a really low light condition, some action, and I needed 1/800th or better shutter speed in order to freeze my subject. And as the day was wearing on, we got into evening and we were in a wooded area and I was losing light fast. And I thought, you know, what the heck, you know, just for, you know, sake of trying it, let me crank the ISO up, you know. So I was at 6,400, and that wasn't giving me fast enough shutter speed. The 6,400 ISO files were just sick. They were like the ISO 3,200 or even less, like in between 1,600 and 3,200 from the other cameras in the lineup. At 6,400, I ended up shooting a couple of shots at ISO. What the heck was I at? I should have to pull it up. I was beyond 12,800, 25,600, 20,000, somewhere around there. There's noise, obviously. I mean, come on, good Lord, that was like an insanely high ISO. But they weren't that bad. They looked like the 10,000 ISO shots I was shooting with the EM1 last year. I don't have access to a RAW editor at this point, so I was just looking at the JPEG straight out of the camera. And the JPEG processing is phenomenal in Olympus cameras. It doesn't process noise the way that I personally would. I have a different look that I achieve, I think, you know, doing some external editing of the RAW file. So I'm really dying to get my hands on the ability to edit the RAW files, just to see what I can do with those absurdly high ISOs and see where that goes. So I guess this whole video, I should have just prefaced it or titled it by saying, sport shooters who are curious about mirrorless, come watch this, or come, you know, pay attention to what's going on here. I'm pumped. I'm geeked because I finally get to talk about it. And, you know, when the time comes, of course, that I can start sharing some video, some photos from the camera. I'm going to put some photos of the camera side-by-side stuff on Flickr here in a minute. But when I can share the photos that are taken with the camera, you know, I'll be sure to announce somewhere on here so that you can head over to my Flickr page and check them out. But just some other insights on the camera that, you know, that are to mention. So ergonomics, you know, I think that probably some people have mentioned it other places online, but I'll mention it here. The grip is more pronounced. It's deeper. My thought, and again, I don't, you know for fact or anything, you know why, but I don't know if the dual card slot has anything to do with that, or my thought really though is it's the battery, because it is an increased size battery. I think it's like 37% bigger, and it's pretty rad that and it won't show up on the video, of course, but you get a percentage meter on your battery, which is the bee's knees. I love that. You know, I hated looking at my battery indicator and seeing like 1 mark left and wondering, what does that mean? Like, how much time do I have left? But I think, again, because of the larger battery, the grip is more pronounced. I don't have big hands. I've got like medium hands, and in medium hands, it's definitely like, you can see where my fingertips fall. So if you're someone with larger hands, the fitment of this is going to be even greater than the EM1. Let me grab an EM1 down real quick here. So we'll just do like a little quick down and dirty side by side. You notice the difference in depth. So again, I think for people that are transitioning from a DSLR, this was the logical choice before, obviously, because it has that L frame or J frame, whatever they call that body style with the pronounced grip. This, I think, will feel a little more a little more like home. And it's definitely going to shoot a lot better than home. I was given some specs on it in comparison to some other cameras. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about those comparisons, but I'll just say that it was put head to head with a leading DSLR, a big DSLR, like one of the really, really, really popular ones, you know, from a really popular brand. In an autofocus test that where there was a bird in flight, and not just a bird in flight off in the distance, like, you know, passing, you know, parallel to the viewer. This was a bird approaching the subject, and this camera totally outpaces the DSLR, and I'll talk a little bit about how that's possible too really quick. So when a DSLR is shooting, so you know you've got the mirror lockup mechanism that happens, right? The mirror pops up, you know, curtain opens, sensor gets the light, photos taken, mirror drops back down. It's all the clickety clackety that you hear in a DSLR. You know, they sound like a horse running down the road. They're so loud. So what happens is mirror's down, right? Mirror comes up, and let me see if I get this right here. It's let me just take 1 second here. I'm sorry, I should have had this prepped, but like I said, I was literally just turned loose. Like, you know, they said, okay, go, you can talk. So I'm talking. So let me get my note here. So basically, what happens with a DSLR? All right, you're focusing on your subject. We're talking continuous autofocus here. So the football player is running at you. You're autofocusing, got your finger half shutter, press, focus, focus, focus. Okay, push the button down. Mirror box pops up so that you can take the picture. While that's happening, your autofocusing is not working. If you're not sure if that's true or not, contact your manufacturer. It's not working in a DSLR that way. With this camera, you're not losing your autofocusing. You're shooting your image, and the focus is working constantly because you don't have this mirror lockup mechanism that's impeding the ability to continue to do your focus. So the images that we saw in this comparison of this bird in flight, the DSLR it's awesome. You know, it's like it's maintaining focus. They shoot, they get a couple of shots, and then it loses it. With this system, actually, the longer that you're tracking your subject, the more hits you're going to get. Which is, again, it sounds crazy, but I'm sure that these examples will come out. I'm sure they'll get shared by the appropriate people. But I can tell you that, you know, the way we were shown how this works is the longer you're tracking your subject, the more likely it is to maintain focus, the more hits you're going to get, the more accurate your autofocus becomes, which is actually kind of like the exact opposite of shooting with a DSLR. You might have a couple of hits further out, and then, you know, that mirror box keeps flapping. You keep losing your ability to maintain your continuous autofocus, and then you keep getting further and further out of focus. Pretty sick stuff. So that's me being super hyper, super pumped up. And yes, I'm rocking like an old E-M1 strap because, well, this was just rushed over with no strap. So can't even do an unboxing because I don't have a box even. So I'll tell you what, there are probably some questions that I can answer. There are some definitely that I cannot answer at this time. So if you want to, go ahead and throw those questions in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer as much as I can. Again, just remember that there are some technical details I'm not allowed to share yet, but I can definitely do what I'm doing right now, which is give you like that the user experience. I can just tell you, you know, how things work. Like I said, I'll try to answer what I can. Thanks you guys for watching. I'm amazed that I've got so many viewers so early in the evening. That's pretty awesome. You guys rock. Yeah, shoot me some questions, and I'll do the best I can to answer them. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being subscribers too. You guys kick butt. Oh, let me talk about a few other things. Man, I don't want to stop. I'm like on a roll. Articulating screen on the E-M1. Everybody was like, "Oh God, it needs the screen." Then you had the other crowd that were like, "Oh, I don't want it. It's not sturdy or robust." It's beefier than what it is on the E-M5 Mark II. Definitely, in my opinion, I don't have like any technical stuff that said we put X amount of pounds on it before we saw any kind of damage. So I don't have anything like that to prove it, but I can just tell you visibly and just from a feel standpoint, definitely feels like a more robust solution than it is on the E-M5 Mark II. What else can I mention that's important? Again, a lot of this stuff is spec'd out on the website, but I don't know if it was noted on the website or not. Where am I at here? Other side. So your connection to the computer. Oh, sorry, that's the headphones. There we go. Your connection, and again, you're not going to be able to see it on here, probably. So one is HDMI. The bottom one down there, though, that's your USB connection. That's not a proprietary Olympus connector anymore. Yes, you know what that is? USB-C. So no fiddling with trying to figure out which way the connector goes in. And you've also got USB 3 speeds for transfers. Killer. I love that stuff. It's all those little things that add up. I'm telling you. I'm done. I don't have any more. I better stop before I end up saying stuff I'm not supposed to say, which is probably likely because I'm so hyped up. Again, thanks for tuning in. Questions in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer what I can. And stay tuned for another video coming up probably within the next week. As soon as I get some time, I'm going to do just a complete total side-by-side of the E-M1 Mark II and the E-M1. And I'm going to find out if I can go through the menu system and show that on here. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do that yet or not. So I've got a couple of emails to send out because I think everybody would be pretty intrigued to see the menu system. I know it blew me away the first time I saw it. I thought, holy crap, this is like, there's a lot of new stuff in here. Thanks, you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.